And today I want to talk to you about 10 things I wish I had known before I did the Trans-America Trail. There's more than one Trans-America Trail, so be hard to not call out Sam Correo for being the grandfather of the Trans-America Trail, but since that, uh, there have been a few iterations afterwards. Of course, the most famous would be GPS Kevin, but there are also multiple people who have shared routes on the internet, a number of free ways that you can get it. Sam Correo's transamericatrail.com has roll maps and also GPS guides, but they have to be converted to like a Garmin format. You can't just take the maps that you get from Sam, the digital maps, and directly put them into a Garmin. They have to be put into something else, translated before you put them in. GPS Kevin's maps that you get on a small SD card can just go directly into a Garmin, and they show as a series of blue, green, and red for being intermediate, easy, and difficult routes. And then any other free ones that you get will have to be translated into whatever GPS unit that you're using for your routing. Number two, no route is perfect. I found issues with multiple. We started out with GPS Kevin's, leaving out of Hatteras, North Carolina, and along the way there was a number of times that either the route showed in kind of the wrong location, we missed turns because the GPS didn't agree with what the road was actually doing. And I had a lot of trouble with Sam's because I didn't pre-convert my files before I left. And so when I got to Utah, I had planned to use Sam Correo's route, slip the SD card into my Garmin, and nothing happened. I wasn't able to select a route out of there. I could see the data, but it didn't translate directly into the Garmin. Number three, there will be pavement. So even the very best of these routes has segments where you will be required to go on pavement. There really isn't a route that is strictly dirt only, and if you watch YouTube videos, most people have posted the very best parts, of course, of their trip, and those are the dirt roads, and what they've left out is a lot of pavement in between. So it's worth considering when you're thinking about what kind of a tire to use, that you'll probably be on the pavement more than you think you will. So, timing can be limiting, and by that I mean that if the window that you choose, set up your life, get your vacation, or whatever else in line to do the trip is too early in the season, you can find rivers that are swollen, you can find mountain passes that are still clogged with snow. You can find, if you go too hot in the summer, you may find places that are just too hot to survive. There's sections of Utah that in the middle of the summer are truly kind of hellish, and a long way between water stops. So think about that when you're deciding for what time of year you want to do the route. I think if I had to do it all over again, late summer, just before the mountain passes clogged with snow, but again, from week to week and even day to day, you can end up with a hell of a lot of change in the mountain passes. So, number five, routes change, and the reality is that whether you get a route from somebody free online, or if you buy one from GPS Kevin or Sam Correo, which I bought both, some of that data is going to be outdated because those guys are not out there, and the trail is a living, dynamic thing. Rivers flood, roads come in and out, bridges get dismantled, roads get closed for construction. So these routes change from day to day, and the longer it's been since those guys have been out and either had updates from riders or changed their route themselves, these things change. And then I think it's also worth noting that over the years, the routes have changed, and it's gone from probably what was a more technical motorcycle adventure into a sort of routes that were built with dual sport motorcycles and larger bikes in mind. It used to be that Sam recommended no bigger than a 450 to do the Trans-America Trail, but now it's routinely done on 990s and real big bikes, the big BMW 1200s that really just would have been too big to feasibly do the original route. So those routes change, and they will continue to change. Number 6, weather can be limiting. And by that, you can end up with blistering heat. You can end up with a snowstorm coming over a mountain pass. You can end up with rainstorms that swell rivers and make crossings impassable and end up causing you to do an entire day's drive around on pavement. The weather's something that not only do you need to consider before you leave the trip, but you need to keep an eye on it as you're moving along, and it can severely dampen your enthusiasm on the trail, or at least it did so for mine. Number 7, dress accordingly. It can be very cold and very hot on this trail, and it is possible to reach both of those extremes on the same day. For example, we came out of the San Rafael Swell, and it was almost 90 degrees down in the desert. And from there, we took, and this is in Utah, what's called Fairview or 9 Mile Canyon. And within 45 minutes, we had gone from 90-degree desert to 8-foot tall snow drifts where they were still snowmobiling on top of Fairview, and it was down to just over 50 degrees. That's a huge temperature shift. It's nice to have gear that's layered so that you can increase or decrease as the weather changes. Number 8, there are tons of information sources out there. So if you're thinking that the only place that you can get information is a paid source like Sam Correo, GPS Kevin, and those are fantastic sources, and I highly recommend both of them. And in fact, I recommend buying both of them and figuring it out while you're at home. The advent of Facebook and social groups like that, and allowing you to ask questions onto forums. So the Adventure Forum, there's a couple of Facebook groups for the Trans-America Trail. Join them. When you have questions, put it out there. I was shocked to find how fast my questions were answered by people. I mean, even just saying, I'm in this town in North Carolina and I need a free place to camp or a cheap place to camp. Where might I go? And within 20 minutes, I had received 7 or 8 responses that led to one of our favorite camping sites of the whole trip. These groups are active. They are well worth the time to get in them, read through the questions that have already been asked, because probably if you have the question, somebody else had it before you. But whatever you want to do, those groups, they're the way to get that information. Number 9, make the Trans-America Trail your own. I suggest buying Sam and Kevin's maps. If nothing else, it helps to pay support to people who are looking for different paths to take, people who are advocates of this trail. But I do think that there is a point that you should diverge from their path, and that is where you want to go. What do you want your trip to look like? Do you want to have a side adventure? And as you're riding, you may have sections where it would be better to have more dirt, better to have more pavement. It's really up to you. But not feeling locked in to one person's route really gives you a freedom to explore on your own and maybe find somewhere that doesn't work, but pay attention to where you're at, backtrack, and go another way. But don't miss out on all the stuff that's out there because you're stuck following somebody else's route. Make this thing your own. Number 10, have fun. So, no better advice, I think, than that. And Transamerica Trail is awesome. If you're considering it and you've got the time and resources to make it happen, do it. Don't question it. It's awesome, and it is an adventure that there really aren't that many of them left in the world. So, but when I say that, I'm also going to go back to number 9 about making it your own, because part of having fun is understanding where you are at as a writer. And if your feeling was when you started this that if you didn't write this entire thing on dirt, that you've somehow failed, but you get out there on the dirt and you find yourself just a little bit outmatched by that dirt, and you end up getting hurt, or it just stops being fun, there shouldn't be a reason that you can't find something that is more fun. Maybe you're writing too much pavement and you want more dirt. Reaching out to those other information sources to find a little section of dirt to do that day, some single track that maybe nobody else even knows about. There's a lot of ways to make this thing your own and make it fun. Plenty of places to stop along the way. And I really hope that you get out there.